Lightweight, baby!
Hey, how's it going? This is Danny from Made of Metal, aka Britain's Strongest Drummer, and I am here with a rather overdue recap of what happened at the Pro Strongman League under 80kg championships, which took place in Huntington Beach, California on Saturday, the 9th of September. Now, this is absolutely a competition that is worth a belated recap. There were highs, there were lows, there was drama, and it is still available for you to catch up on for free on the Pro Strongman League YouTube channel. First of all, compliments go out to the live stream itself. It was a great live stream. There was a minor technical hitch, I think during the second or third event. The video went down, but we still had audio, but that was quickly rectified. Kudos to Valor and Venom, who were providing the live stream for this competition. And the commentary was outstanding. CJ Kraus, he is such a charismatic and knowledgeable guy on the microphone. I've only done the one commentating job so far, but CJ is definitely someone I look up to as an influence for myself going forward. Should anyone else want me to commentate their competitions, I am available. So let's break this competition down event by event. It was a transatlantic affair. We had British athletes, we had American athletes, and for Dean McVie, this was his first taste. It's kind of a litmus test for how the official Strongman Games might go later in the year. So I know I was watching this with curiosity just to see how he'd stack up, because we've seen him. He is the best in Britain. He is the best in Europe. We haven't seen him yet go up against some of the Americans, and a lot of the American guys, if not all, most if not all of the American guys in the lineup for the Pro Strongman League under 80kg championships will be at the OSG Official Strongman Games World Championships later this year. So the first event was an axle overhead medley. There were 3 barbells ranging from about 105 kilograms to I think 125 kilograms. I'm not going to convert that into pounds. You can get out of here with that. Just go watch the live stream. They give all the weights in pounds there. The first 2 bars required 1 rep on each, with the third press away from the chest. You were allowed to just clean it once and press away from the chest. Now, I predicted that some would struggle with this event because the weights, I know some of the athletes, the weights here are pretty close to personal bests, if not personal bests, and it was very telling who was confident going into this event just by the way they approached the bars. You had the guys that knew they were only going to get maybe the first 2 bars and maybe 1 or 2 reps on the third. They were approaching very cautiously, deliberately, whereas the likes of Dean McVie and Rich Panganaban using basically reactive reps. So he was pressing, and then as soon as the bar came down to his shoulder, just dipping and pressing again. That was incredible. He took the event win in this. Josh Kovalevsky, he tripped over, I think it was the first or second bar, because there was some serious bounce on that ground, but it was a great effort from everyone. Tommy Chivers was suffering with a back injury going into this, and straight away he got to that third bar. I think he managed to get 2 or 3 reps. You could tell that back was aggravating him, and the rest of this competition was very back intensive. So I wonder if Tommy Chivers sort of played it conservatively, felt that his back wasn't feeling quite right, and rather than push on the overhead, because he knew he had strong events coming up, he decided to just sort of hold back just a little bit. But yeah, tricky event to begin with, and not everybody made it to the third bar. So I think a decent selection of weights for this championships as well. Then we move on to the deadlift. I believe the deadlift event was advertised as a basket deadlift. So personally, I was expecting like a World's Strongest Man setup. You have a giant metal basket and maybe kegs, weighted kegs after each rep being dropped in. Quite an elaborate contraption, and considering the setting, I'm not surprised it got switched out to a car deadlift. So it was a car on a frame, and plates added to the frame after each rep. I think there were 6 jumps in weight in total, and you could tell pretty much everyone, certainly in the early going on this event, pretty much everyone, as soon as they got to that 3rd rep, the bar slowed right down. Andrew Keys, I think, was the first person to get 4 reps, and Ross Remillard was the first to actually reach the maximum weight. As predicted, Lewis Blackwood did very well in this event. They actually had to tighten the bar attached to the frame before Lewis went. I think they could tell that if anyone was going to tear that bar out of the frame, it would be Lewis, with just the intensity that he pulls those deadlifts. I forget how many reps he got in total, but the last couple were a real fight. So kudos to him. Dean McVie did very well as well. He did the strategic thing. I've heard this from certain coaches that when you're doing rep events, you stop just short of your first real grindy rep, you rest for a few seconds, and then you continue to grind, rather than going until you start grinding out reps and then you're completely exhausted. So a rest is kind of irrelevant. Dean McVie executed that strategy to a T, but Rich Panganaban taking the event win on this to make that 2 event wins in a row. Then we had the moving medley, which was a yoke into sandbag, into yoke, into sandbag. So you carry the yoke, I forget the distance of the track, it was 10 or 15 meters. The yoke weighed 700 pounds. There you go, you got your pounds. Then you run back, pick up a sandbag, which I believe weighed about 220, 240 pounds. You have to carry that bag, pop it over the bar of the yoke, pick the yoke back up, return the yoke to the start line, grab the bag, and then pop the bag over the yoke once more. I knew this was going to be a tricky event. I have mentioned before, I have done this event, albeit very much lighter than the guys in Huntington Beach. And this floor itself actually looked kind of spongy. When the guys were warming up for the yoke, I could see the sponge. It was like an AstroTurf sort of surface. So I wonder if that played a part in making this much more tricky, or it could have just been the fatigue built up from those first 2 events, because this was a very quick competition. But no one bar one athlete managed to complete this event. Dean McVie was the man to complete the event. He took the event win, but there were bodies left strewn across this AstroTurf surface after this event. We had, I think, some of the favourites for this event, the likes of Rich Panganaban and Josh Kovalevsky and Tommy Chivers as well, managed to pick up the 2nd sandbag to return it to the start line to finish the event. But by the time they got to the yoke, there was just no power left. So I think a fair few athletes, those guys included, resigned themselves to just getting the bag to the line to near enough finish. But just, yeah, I was honestly surprised that just one person finished it. I didn't expect everyone to finish, but I mean, it was a heavy yoke, it was a heavy sandbag, so perhaps no surprise. It was a hot day as well, but yeah, you could tell there were some people really suffering during this event. The likes of Daniel Balderrama on his 2nd leg with the yoke, he was sort of zigzagging all over the place. Ross Remillard, in a bit of a shock, didn't manage to load the sandbag that first time over the yoke, so couldn't proceed with the event. Andrew Keys managed to get the yoke nearly halfway back to the start line, and he looked a bit lightheaded, a bit wobbly after it. So yeah, this was a really tough event. It was amazing to watch, don't get me wrong, but yeah, this was where it started to shake things up, and the penultimate event even more so. And that penultimate event was a frame carry. The frame weighed 600 pounds, roughly 270 kilograms, and I believe it was being carried 50 feet, which I think is about 15 meters, although the perspective of the camera made it look much longer. It might have been closer to 20 meters. I'm sure Tommy will be down in the comments correcting me on the actual distance of the frame carry. But again, this was another event that really seemed to catch people out. We had lots of people dropping, lots of people who you would imagine would be reliable on this sort of event dropping. Andrew Keys made a blistering time. Andrew Keys suddenly woke up after that near-death experience with the yoke and set a time of 14.19 seconds for third place in this event, which was his highest placing throughout the whole competition, I believe. Tommy Chivers, the fastest lightweight. He's coined that title and he has earned it. He said going into this event that he was going to complete the course in under 10 seconds, and under 10 seconds he did. It was 9.7 something. Again, Tommy will be, just scroll down, Tommy will be in the comments with, you know, the exact time to the hundredths of a second. Josh Kovalevsky, he flew, dropped the frame and had to sort of just shimmy it over the line, and that was still good enough for second place. So outstanding from Josh Kovalevsky, one of the favourites for the competition, and, you know, making his mark on this event. Dean McVie and Rich Panganaban. Rich Panganaban did not finish the course, which was a shock. He was in the lead. In fact, I believe Dean and Rich were tied going into this event for the lead. So Dean and Rich were tied for first place going into this event. Rich Panganaban did not finish. Dean McVie did finish. However, there was some confusion. There was some... it seemed visually that perhaps the frame slid over the line a little bit. I think the referees believed the frame may have slid over the finish line a little bit as well. So they were asking Dean to pick the frame up and I guess just nudge it, not even half an inch, just lift the frame off the floor, essentially. However, Dean had dropped the frame a couple of times, I believe, before the finish line. His hands were completely shredded. There are pictures of it on social media, or at least there were. Hopefully there aren't anymore, but you could see he was trying with every ounce of strength. The left side of the frame was coming off the floor with ease, but the right hand side was glued. Like his right hand was giving him real bother. It was obvious. It's obvious that this is not a heavyweight for Dean McVie. So I think just the fact that there was so much blood on the handle and his hand was in so much pain, there was a bit of confusion. Eventually, it was resolved. The judges gave Dean a time. Dean has actually reached out to me and said on social media himself that he was fired up in the moment. You could tell that there was frustration bubbling away and the refs were trying to be as fair and impartial as they could be. But just in the heat of the moment, things did seem to get a little bit heated, but, you know, quickly resolved and the competition moved on. But yeah, this really, really shook things up. So the battle for the podium between Rich Panganaban, Dean McVie and Josh Kovalevsky all came down to the final event. And that final event was a stone over yoke for reps. It was head to head. It is a cool looking visual. It works from a spectator point of view, but trying to keep up, just with the nature of the format, trying to keep up with people's scores just was impossible. And the commentary also kind of said that as well. Like, it was difficult to keep track because points were given on total number of reps over the bar. As soon as someone failed, someone new came in, so it was difficult to keep track of who was leading this event. But Andrew Keys, war of attrition on this. He gave everything on this last event. Did really well. Josh Kovalevsky was really unfortunate. I think he only managed to get one rep. Maybe there was a problem with tacky. Maybe there was some other issue, but that dropped him down to third place on the podium. Came down to Dean and Rich head to head. basically for the win. Both had their hands taped up, and Dean McVie doing exactly as many reps as he needed to take that win. So in this under 80 kilogram championship, Pro Strongman League, your podium is in third place, Josh Kovalevsky. Second place, Rich Panganaban, who's not competed since the official Strongman Games back in November, by the way. And first place, King of the Mountain, once again, Dean McVie. So in terms of predictions, I got the top three bang on. I just mixed up first and second, and that is on me. It would be foolish at this point to bet against Dean McVie in any competition. Momentum can be a powerful thing, and right now, Dean McVie stands as Britain's strongest man under 80 kilograms, Europe's strongest man under 80 kilograms, the Pro Strongman League under 80 kilogram champion. He's now got his sights firmly set on the World Championships later this year, and he came third last year. Judging by his performance, not just at this competition, at this Pro Strongman League under 80 kilogram championships, but at every competition he's been at this year, he has just been dominant. So I can't wait to see what he can bring to the table at OSG. So that's going to about do it for my belated recap of the Pro Strongman League under 80 kilogram championships. Did you watch it? Have you caught up with it? Were you in the live chat? I know a couple of you were. Leave your comments below. Did you enjoy it? Was there anyone that stood out to you? There were some new up and coming names in the lineup that I'm looking forward to see in the years and months to come. As I stand here and now this weekend, the 23rd and 24th of September, we have the UKNS World Championships. I'm really hoping to be able to put some sort of preview together for that competition, although I've only got a couple of days. So let's see what happens with that. But here's some quick predictions for you. Under 73 kilogram women, Chloe Brennan's probably going to win. She's Europe's strongest woman. Under 80 kilogram men, Kyle Scott, he won the UK final in Galway earlier in the year. He's the third strongest man in Europe, so he's probably going to do it here. And in the under 90 kilogram men, Pavlos Kouros won so convincingly at the UK final in Galway earlier in the year that he's probably going to do it again here. But who knows? Who knows? That is another competition that is going to be live streamed for free on YouTube over the weekend, so be sure to catch it. Also going on this weekend, it's kind of a first. At AL Fitness, we have the super lightweights. It is an under 70 kilogram strongman show. I believe there are close to 10 athletes, so there is interest in this super lightweight class. And I know Ash has got some plans for next year if this weekend goes well. So if you are a super lightweight, if you look at the likes of me and think, oh, I wish I could compete with this giant of a man, there is going to be competitions. These competitions, they're gonna start springing up now. I can feel it. There is interest. So start training now. I have been Danny from Made of Metal, aka Britain's strongest drummer, Britain's strongest rambler as well. This has been a very rambly video, hasn't it? I'll be back very soon, if not with a preview of the UK NS Finals, World Finals. I will be back with a recap, 100%, of the UK NS World Finals. But until then, I will see you soon.